Stripped of all its regalia and choreography, the Landship functions much like a working-class friendly society, providing its membership with cash insurance for purposes of illness, maternity, or death. As its name suggests, it pretends to be a ship on land, its leadership bearing such naval titles as Lord High Admiral, Commander, and Captain, and bedecking themselves in gold tassels, medals, and peaked caps. Captain Vernon Watson, the head of the ship.
Well, the uniform is the whole body, the composition of the movement. Because if you know, let me go back there, Ronnie, because that's a very important question. Because we interpret the Navy. That is from the inception. Moses was come here, and in the year 1863. And he say that he came because he missed which is regular, he missed that life at sea. And he get together some of his, we don't know whether it was his age group or younger or older people, but he get some fellas and bestow on them all the uniforms and ranks and regalia. And then put officers ranks to fierce fellas, and we have from the Admiral back down to the Skylight Boy.
Women came into the movement by the early 1900s, designated as nurses or stars. The ships, which kept their independence, named themselves after British naval vessels: Iron Duke, Nelson, Dreadnought, and Cornwall. Each ship had a regular meeting place called, not unexpectedly, a dock, with masts and sails on the roof.
From the inception of the Landship, the main nights, Friday nights, is always a very significant night. It's what you call a ship night. A ship night is where we meet and we pay our dues, our contributions. Like what you have, well, this is a modern thing. You just have the money you pay will record in the book. But now we introduce a contribution card, something like this, where what you pay is recorded in your card and in the book.
As a working class movement, the Landship expanded significantly during the 1920s, and by the early 30s there were 3 fleets of over 60 ships, with about 3,000 men and 800 women.
We know now what is called the Barbados Landship as one ship, but we're talking about several ships. That in the 1920s and 30s we can find 30-something ships. There are claims that there were ships that were over 100 and something persons. They'll be even in the 1970s we know we had about 12 ships, 8 to 12 ships when there was the next revival of the ship. So it meant that you can have a Landship or 2 or 3 or 4 in St. Michael and more probably 2 in St. Peter, 2 in St. Philip, wherever. And each ship had a captain, and each ship then would have the nurses and the commanders. You had an overall admiral, the last one was Admiral Marshall that we've spoken about, but you had different ships.
No ship can travel without an engine, not even a land ship. But this ship's movements, or movementations, are generated in its choreography, and the engine driving those movements is the tuk band.
It was a crucible of historical importance in terms of the dance movements. All the things that you can see, I mean, wine low and all that, but there were complex movements that people used to be involved in. And the better bands had all these complex movements that they could do.
Yeah, and that depends a lot about who was leading the ship, because from St. Joseph, I've had someone telling me about the 1930s in St. Joseph where they actually used to scrub, part of the movement was scrubbing the deck. Scrubbing the deck, something that we don't see. And certain things for the women to do, certain things for men to do, certain things for the quartermaster to do.
In the hands of tuk connoisseurs like these, this motley assortment of musical instruments comprising bass drum, kettle drum, flute and triangle is capable of sailing any land ship through rough seas.